Fact of love number 1. Relationships are inherently frustrating, disappointing, and painful. I don't say that as a pessimist, but very much a realist. So the sooner that you accept that in your relationship, you're going to have moments of frustration, disappointment, and pain, and the better you get at handling that and dealing with it and responding to it, the more satisfaction and joy and pleasure you're actually going to be able to get out of your relationship. So let's break this down a little bit. Frustration is just when there's a goal that's being blocked. That's frustrating. Disappointment has more of a quality of loss. You wanted something, has more to do with the past. You wanted something and you didn't get it. You wanted A and instead you got B. It's disappointing. Emotional pain is pretty self-explanatory. The thing to know about that, though, is that the brain doesn't differentiate much between physical pain and emotional pain, even though the implications for physical pain can be very different than emotional pain. But we tend to reflexively respond to emotional pain in the same way we do from physical pain, right? We either want to get away from it or we want to neutralize it somehow. And that doesn't always work in relationship, the way that we go about doing that. So here's some tips as to how to deal with these states. First off, hopefully many of us got some learning through experience of how to deal with this, but many of us didn't. I mean, to be honest, I know I didn't. I know I wasn't necessarily taught how to deal with frustration or disappointments, and that would have been helpful. So it's something that I had to pick up throughout my life when I kept making mistakes around it. So the acronym that my wife and I use, she also works with couples, is I, me. That's the antidote. And what does that stand for? I stands for identify. So when you're having one of these moments of frustration or disappointment or pain, that might be sadness or fear, to be able to identify it, right? So you use your attention and you start to identify the thoughts. That means the words or the images that are in your mind. Typically our mind is always, the brain is always churning out thoughts. And so just identify the words or the images that are coming through your mind. Identify what the emotion is, right? So if you can put a specific word to that experience, an emotional word, is it sadness, is it fears, is it frustration, is it disappointment? So just label this. You're doing this all in your head. Then you identify the physical sensations. And you don't even have to go in order, but you should identify all aspects of your experience if you can. What's the physical signature of your emotional state? I know frustration resides in my jaw. I tend to clench my jaw and clench my fist. It's just that physiological reaction that tells me that I'm frustrated. And see if you can notice what your impulse is. Because if you can notice what your impulse is, you don't have to necessarily act on it, and you can make a choice. You can make a good choice that's ultimately going to serve you and your relationship better. See, part of the problem is we are walking around with short-term brains in a long-term life. So our behavior has consequences, so you want to choose the consequences that you want and mitigate and minimize the consequences that you don't want. So identify, then modulate. Modulate is just sort of getting some distance, taking a breath or 3 through your nose. Just even one can reset you. So you modulate. Then after you modulate, ask yourself, how important is this? Maybe in the scheme of things, it's not that important, right? You might remember also that you love your partner most of the time. Hopefully you like that person as well. And you're choosing to be with them, okay? You're choosing to be with your partner or your spouse. It's a choice. You're an adult. If your experience still matters enough that you really want your partner to know, then we move over from the M of modulation to E, express. This is the relational piece now, because how you express yourself is going to have a profound impact on how much interest your partner is going to have in your experience and how they are likely to respond. And you want them to respond with care and with love and curiosity. So you're going to have to express yourself in a way that is calm, clear, and honest. And that means being vulnerable, which, I don't know about you, that doesn't always feel good to me. It can feel a little bit edgy, a little bit dangerous, a little bit squirmy. But I've learned the power of expressing myself in this calm and clear and honest way, in this vulnerable way, okay? So I want you to, next time, when you're experiencing frustration, disappointment, or pain, notice like where you get hung up. Is it on identifying what's really going on? Is it on the modulation piece? Being able to dial it down a little bit and having a choice as far as how to respond? Or is it in the expression piece? Right? Do you tend to blame, point fingers, attack, or withdraw? All of those will have an implication, because that's going to set your partner in motion, because they're going to have an experience about your behavior. Okay? So hopefully this is helpful. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll be unpacking this more in future videos. This is just a general overview. So be well and love well. Take care.